Good evening and welcome to the May 23rd, 2024 Zoning Commission meeting, regular meeting at 7 p.m. held here at Brookfield Town Hall, room 133. I'll have the Pledge of Allegiance first. You all stand, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'll have the members introduce themselves tonight, starting from my left.
Gwen Arment, regular member.
Anthony Papucci, Vice Chair.
Kurt Timmerman, Chairman.
Sean Turner, Secretary.
Please note that Mac Grimes, regular member, is absent tonight. We do have a quorum. Zoning enforcement officer, we thought we were going to send those monthly now, right?
It will be next meeting. So
Okay,
he
yep.
provided one last meeting, so it will
He
be next
did.
meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll do that at the beginning of each month. Yeah, first meeting. All right, the next one is 3A, letter from the Planning Commission. So I asked last time if everybody would read the POCD and get some ideas about the letter and their feelings and opinions on how the POCD met or didn't meet, how development happened, especially down to TCD. And I wrote some things down too as a starting point. I think I'd like to draft a response, but maybe we can create a agenda item 8A to craft a response to the Planning Commission lender, if you guys are in agreement, so then we have a actual agenda item to discuss it and build a response to the Planning Commission.
I think that's a good idea. I sadly, I didn't get a chance to actually take a look at it.
All right.
So.
I can
And
start the
you were gonna
process.
send it to me,
Oh, the POCD? Oh, it's up. Oh, I'm sorry.
the letter.
Right.
Oh, the letter. Oh, my bad.
Of course, we should have said, please send it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll go over some of it tonight just to
Okay.
get the ball started
Great.
and the ball rolling. But I'll take a motion to add it to our agenda to discuss it later in new business 8A, if that is good with everybody.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to discuss the letter from the Planning Commission regarding the POCD as a new business item 8A
To draft a response.
to draft a response.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Gwen. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. And no abstentions, so that's 4-0-0. All right, thank you.
I actually looked through everything and I couldn't find it. Who sent it? I looked through.
It was
what
sent
you
by,
sent?
it was on our agenda. It's actually, if you look at the agenda online, it's actually attached to it.
No, the letter.
The letter, yes. Oh, it was sent by Courtney Knapp from the Planning Commission. So she's tasked with, getting feedback from various members, and she drafted a different letter to all these different groups to get their feedback on how the POCD implementation went in the last 10 years, or 9 years actually, in preparation for them to redo it.
And which agenda was that?
This one, it's actually, since it's on our agenda here, it's attached to every one of this one's yesterday's and the day before, the meeting before. So if you go on to agendas and look at the agenda online, you can click on the link and it'll bring up the letter. It's I think it's a Word document, right? Or did you PDF it?
I think it's PDF to be on Jamf, so
Oh, okay.
but I'm not 100% sure.
But
Either
you know
way,
what?
it's-
This time I'll remember to send you I'll send everybody the Word document, so
Thank
at least
you.
you can update it.
Okay.
Okay, has everybody had a chance to review the minutes of the previous meeting?
Yes.
On May 9th? I'll accept a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Thank you, Sean. Any second?
I'll second.
Second, okay, thanks, Gwen. And any modifications or corrections anybody saw?
No.
I didn't see any myself. All right, all in favor of accepting the minutes from the May 9th, 2024 meeting, say aye.
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 All opposed? None? No abstentions? Thank you. All right, no continued public hearings, so we have one new public hearing, 6A, 10 Dinglebrook Dinglebrook Road, application Z-24-23, so I'll read the introduction. This is a regular meeting of the Brookfield Zoning Commission. At this point in our agenda, we have scheduled a public hearing concerning the application of Gordon Hallis, 10 Dinglebrook Road, Brookfield, Connecticut, application Z-24-23, for application to construct a 795 square foot, one-level handicapped accessible in-law cottage. First, I'll have the members of the commission reintroduce themselves present here this evening, starting from my left.
Gwen Arment, regular member.
Anthony Papucci,
Kurt
Vice Chair.
Kurt Timmerman, Chairman.
Sean Turner, Secretary.
We will open this public hearing by calling upon the commission, actually the Vice Chair, to read the legal notice of this hearing. Here it is. It's right in line. It's not separate.
Just a notice.
Yeah.
Brookfield Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing at Town Hall, 100 Pocono Road, room 133 at 7 p.m. on 5/23/2024 for the application of 10 Dinglebrook Road, Z-24-23, Gordon Hallis, application to construct a 795 square foot, one-level, handicap accessible in-law cottage. At this hearing, interested persons may appear to be heard and written communications received. Files are available for inspection at Town Hall. Kurt Timmerman, Chairman.
Thank you. This application was formally received by the commission on May 9th, 2024. The public hearing is only one aspect of the approval process and is for the purposes of accepting factual information and data bearing on this application and to allow expression of opinion by interested parties. Subsequent to this hearing, the commission has 65 days in which to render a decision on this proposal. The final decision may be in the form of approved as submitted, approved as stipulations, or denied. After reading into the record the correspondence received by the commission relative to this application, we will ask the applicant to present the application in detail. The presentation will be limited to 45 minutes. The chair will then entertain questions of clarification concerning the applicant's presentation. We will hear from those who wish to speak in favor of the application, followed by those who are opposed. Comments must be limited to 5 minutes. Members of the public have one opportunity to speak during this segment of the hearing and may also submit their concerns in writing during the public hearing. During this segment, the commissioners may ask additional questions. The bylaws of the commission allow for only the presentation of similar positions in succession and preclude the intermixture of comments, pro or con. All questions and comments must be directed through the chair. As you are recognized, please state your name and address so that your comments may be legally recorded. Please be assured that everyone will be given the opportunity to speak. However, the commission is most interested in hearing factual information relative to the application, and in view of the time constraints placed upon us, we ask your indulgence in not reiterating comments previously presented. After the public comments are received, the applicant will have the opportunity to comment, and the time will be limited to 10 minutes. Are there any questions? Okay, is there any correspondence? Let's see. I don't think so.
I didn't see any.
I didn't see any, and nothing here. I see that the permit fee looks like it was paid. Check 379. So now I'm prepared to hear the applicant's presentation. So you come up to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
It's Gordon Hallis, 10 Dinglebrook Road, Brookfield. I'm trying to build a in-law house on my property for my parents. Currently, we sold their house in Danbury. My father's 88, my mother's 85. My mom's not doing too great, but my father's doing good. So we want to get them some help. My mother was ill for about a year, and she was in and out of these rehab centers. Wasn't too impressed. And me being a builder and done a lot of work and also done a lot of these kind of structures before, I'm the only one in the family that has property that I can actually have my parents on my property and still have a little bit of privacy. I have 6 kids and married 28 years, so I know the difference between living with my parents and living a little bit separate. Originally, I had just finished doing a addition on my house, and if I'd known this situation was gonna happen, I probably would have just put an addition on my house and kind of had an in-law separate apartment. But the way I designed it, I don't have a one-level home. It's actually 3 levels, 2 different levels with a lot of stairs. My mom can't, you know the thing, my mom can't go downstairs, so. So I plan on, doing it as a handicap, because she really needs, she's in a wheelchair sometimes. She's actually walking now, back walking, so that's good, but who knows how long that'll last. So I thought this would be the most prudent. They're gonna pay for it for me, we sold their house, so we're able to do that. And it also allows my kids to intermingle with them, especially on holidays. Because right now I have them temporarily down in Florida, and they can't travel very well. So it's hard for them to enjoy the rest of their lives. So I'm trying to get them back into town. And so that's the reason for this application. Otherwise, my wife would be happy not to do this. But it's all good. It's all good. She's happy. She as long as it's separate. Yeah, I think you guys can understand that. But otherwise, I don't know if you've been on my property. You're welcome to come by and look at it. If you haven't, I'm on Dimblebrook, which you can see, but a lot of traffic with open space and dog walkers and stuff.
Yeah,
But-
the Burr Farm over there,
Right.
yeah.
That's a nice area. So I think my parents are excited to finally get it done, because they've been waiting about a year now. So, if you have any questions or.
Right, is there any questions from the commission on this application? If you note, there's some elevations on page 3, the sheet A2, show what the house will look like. Almost looks like a craftsman style or something.
The same architect that designed my house just recently, he did that before. So it kind of, be representative of the property, and not be too crazy with. But it's just.
And I'm assuming you're doing this strictly one level for just accessibility for your parents, which, okay.
It's all gonna be one level. I was gonna try to make a walkway or something, one level, but there is some elevations on there. It's not a big elevation, but,
Do your folks drive at all?
they do.
And it looks like, as you mentioned, it wasn't too feasible to put an addition on, because you have a multi-level
I
house.
would love to be honest with you, but now that I've done everything, if I'd known ahead of time, I probably could have modified it, but, I have elevations that come down towards the new house, or the addition I did.
Yeah.
And I have stone walls to hold that elevation up. So it just doesn't. I have my new septic system on the east side of my house, so I can't do anything on that side.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's why.
And are you gonna have a separate septic, or are you tying this into,
I'm able to tie, because I have a 6-bedroom system,
right,
I'm able to tie one more bedroom
Okay.
into that. Now, I do have room for extending the field if I need to,
Right.
but,
yeah, the property looks more than enough, that's why, I just wasn't sure if you were dropping in a separate small
I was
septic.
yeah, we were actually planning on doing that, but Mike Mazuko, who's my engineer, he does a lot in Brookfield, and he said, nah, you know what, you're better off just doing that. And so, if we had to ever do that,
That's fine.
there is space to do it, fortunately, on the property. It's about 2 acres.
It sort of keeps it more as an accessory.
No, I agree,
Anyway, you
right,
know,
as opposed to completely separate.
Yeah.
Again, I wasn't saying one way or the other, I just
Just
figured.
asking, I was gonna ask the same
Yeah,
question.
and you're also, there seems to be a small, like, crawl space. Is that strictly for plumbing and that
Yeah.
footer basement to run, again, because it's all one level, you're kind of framing it out that way, so it's.
Yeah, and I'm doing truss, honestly, it's just one level, 9-foot ceilings for them, just kind of, because it's small.
Right,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
yeah. I just wanted, again, knowing that it's small, I was thinking slab, just
I
because,
was gonna do a slab too, but the problem is with mechanicals and
that's why I was asking, yeah.
it's not the greatest thing to have mechanicals up in the attic. I mean, you could now that we have to spray foam actually everything nowadays.
Right.
But, it's just, it is what it is.
No, that's fine. Like I said, it's not,
Sure.
I was just curious of the logic behind it, but you're kind of going down the path that I was figuring. I was just making sure.
Sure.
And you know, there's restrictions on floor space, which this is within, you know.
Right.
Over 480, under 795. The other restrictions are who can stay in there, you know, either older than 55, which your father and mother are, or as a family member,
Right.
handicapped, and then yearly you have, is it yearly now? Yeah, yearly you have to sign an affidavit. Only the first time do you have to get it notarized, and after that, you know, we didn't want to overburden the owner, but you still have to do an affidavit to say, yep, still the way you set it up.
Yeah, and I understand that. It's not a problem, because
Yep.
I figured that, I have 6 kids, so when my parents pass away, somebody's gonna stay there in the family. I'm gonna tell you
The
right
most
now.
troublesome one.
Right.
Or maybe.
I was gonna say, or I was going your route with 6 kids. I'm thinking I want to go live in that.
Okay.
I was thinking about that, especially being one level after a while.
Right.
What is your fuel?
I have a propane. Yeah. I had oil, but now we have propane. It's much more efficient, 98% efficiency. Better off than that.
Hmm.
And AC, I assume too?
What's that?
AC as well?
Yeah.
So forced air with AC and propane heat.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Where's your leach field?
It's on the other side of my main house.
This,
You
this
said
side?
the east side? Yeah, on the right on this drawing.
Over here? This is your proposed
This
one.
right here.
Oh,
That's
okay.
right. It should be on the other, it should be on this, maybe it's not.
Is it on, is there a
I guess not.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
Yeah, there's just the interior, the exterior, and site.
Either way, that space, from a leasing perspective,
In there,
Yeah,
he's got, I
in
don't,
your room,
yeah, I don't see that's a problem.
yeah.
And it actually could extend out.
unlike your community.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's also the reason why I was asking, because with the property here,
Mm-hmm.
you're basically hooking this back up here
Mhm.
to the septic. So
Yeah.
that, again,
Yeah, it runs downhill from there, from the
Ah.
new cottage, so.
Oh,
it's-
then-
it's the elevation is great. I don't need a pump, anything. It's
Okay.
just gonna shoot down there.
Right.
It's not a big elevation. It's probably about 10 feet from there down to where it's going.
yeah, but 10 feet, that's 10 feet's more than enough.
Yeah, that's what Mike says too.
Right.
Paul's on board from health.
On sanitarian.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions from the
I
commission?
don't have any questions.
Is there anybody have questions, clarification from the audience?
I did send all the letters out to my neighbors,
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, I saw that.
so I didn't hear anything.
Mm-hmm.
And we got nothing, none from correspondence. And, is anybody wish to speak in favor of this application? Or opposition, nobody's here, so.
What's the number? Application number?
Oh, yeah, so there's, nobody here to speak for or against, or even for questions of clarification, so anything left to say? I mean, you kind of said it all, there's,
No, I appreciate you guys
What
doing
is
what
the
you do.
number? What is the,
Makes sense.
I don't know. Oh, Z, Z 24.
Z 24-23. So, I'd like to entertain, if someone wants to, make a motion to close the public hearing?
I make a motion to accept,
No, to close the
Gotta
public
close the
hearing.
oh,
public
to
hearing.
close the
Yeah,
discussion.
close the public hearing,
Public hearing.
yeah.
I'll second it.
All right, any discussion on closing the public hearing on Z 24-23? No, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? no opposition, no abstentions. So we can go into deliberations right now. I mean, it looks pretty straightforward. It looks like a decent plan.
Yeah.
I don't
Well
have
thought
any-
out. Like,
Yeah.
like I said, it's definitely, he's done his due diligence as far as I
Yep.
can tell. And, yeah, everything seems to be in line from what we heard, so.
All right.
I've got no questions or problems with it.
Oh, his parents will be close to the framed playhouse.
Yeah. So they can yell at the grandkids, get down.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Oh, I'll accept a motion to approve. Anybody wants to make that motion?
I'll make a motion to approve 10 Dinglebrook Road Z 24-23. The application to construct a 795 square foot, one level handicapped assessed in-law cottage.
I have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Gwen. All, any discussion? No, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None, no abstentions. All right, unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks for your time.
Good luck to you.
Yes,
Appreciate it.
Oh,
Enjoy.
I get the stamp.
I was gonna say you gotta stamp it,
Yeah.
but I would check the date,
Yeah,
because I don't know if it's set right.
May 23rd. That's
There you
today,
go.
right?
We try to set it before.
Yeah.
We try.
And I appreciate that. All right. Let's make sure I pick up the right one.
That's done, that's done.
All right. And I can give that back. This away. All right, the next order of business is 7A, draft regulation changes. So, what we're going through is to look at this draft and see if we want to put an application in. These are the ones I had mentioned last time. The first set of changes are to become compliant with the new regs from Public Act 23-142. And then the other changes are to various housekeeping or things like that, or things that maybe we should look and take a change. We're not deciding on doing any of these, we're just deciding on putting these in the application so that we can later have a public hearing, everybody look into it. So, do you want me to go over some of these changes so we
Sure.
can be all familiar with it? All right. There's one thing, Laura added a definition for kitchen, and that's sort of important, especially for these accessory apartments, because that's what defines what's an accessory apartment as opposed to a guest house. A guest house does not have a kitchen. It's, and I don't think it needs a public hearing or anything like that.
No, I
Yeah.
don't believe so either.
So, on that being said, and I actually know the answer, but I have to ask because I want to ask. What defines a kitchen?
Oh, well, it's in here. She's proposed some language for a
Oh,
kitchen.
okay.
So why don't we go through some of these? First, the changes relate, and I think I went through some of these last time. PA 23-142, this is where we had to change things to child care center and family child care home
Right.
from daycare. So they kind of took the word day out because all the language in the state regulation changed. So these define terms, on page 3 of 14. They changed the residential district, the entry, we had to add the entry to, because there's a new definition of it, family child care home / group child care home. We deleted an entry because it changed from being permitted by special permit to permitted by zoning permit. So that's the difference there. And the other things were, I guess that was pretty much it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. The other areas beyond that was community, the page 4, these are some of the housekeeping ones. I've been collecting them because we don't want to go through the whole process with just a little things here and there. 3.3D, community institutional type uses. I just added the word setbacks because it wasn't quite specific. You know, sometimes people say 2 side yards, well, they mean the setback, so it's unspoken, but a lawyer could probably make a lot of hay with that one. So we added that word, just so it's, yes, that's exactly what it means, the setback.
Yeah.
Commercial vehicle parking in residential zones. This was delete the point E because we had some inconsistency, and we can discuss that inconsistency, but deleting that removes the inconsistency with allowing it, but disallowing it, you know, they seem to be at odds with each other.
Right.
And the wording was unless otherwise approved. You know, that was the key wording there. So they would have to come in front of us anyway, so we'd approve it, so why have this? And then 318, that was the group day versus family group child. You'll notice at the beginning,
I'm sorry,
Oh,
and why is that?
which,
Why was the wording changed?
It was changed by the state statutes.
Ah.
So where I realized that our daycare and our child daycare and our group home was not aligning with the state statutes. When the Public Act came out, I just took it, you know, suggested the changes so that way it's consistent with what they're now proposing. They're pretty much saying this type of group home, this type of daycare, residential child care home is allowed by zoning permit where we originally allowed it by special exception. And it cannot be viewed any different than a residential home in this kind of district. So you can't put any special qualifiers on it, any kind of special considerations. It must be viewed in that way, just like we would a normal house. And it's a limit of like 6 children, I believe, but it's a particular type. So to make sure that there's no confusion on group homes and daycare homes, I really wanted the definition to be consistent with the state statute, so that's why it ties in with the residential.
yeah.
Does that make sense, or?
Yeah, our language wasn't in sync with their language, so now it is. Just like
So-
with the cannabis, we wanted to make sure we used the definition by the state, their exact definition, so there wouldn't be any wiggle room to say, oh, well, we meant this, and this says that,
Right.
so. Same thing here. We're using their terminology, so there's no question about what we're talking about here. And, let me back up. In the regulation change summary, I grouped them by how it's changed. But when I go into the actual the details, they're numerical. So you'll see it's going from like the state daycare things, and then all of a sudden we'll do something that's nothing to do with it, like 3.3D, but then we'll jump back to the group daycare, because that way it's easy to find, oh, 318 is after 3.3. That's the only thing to keep mindful of. So 318 group daycare homes, all those, that language is changed to, again, make it the same and in sync with the state reg. And then the next page, which is page 6, 5.1E, this one came
What-
up,
I'm sorry,
oh,
the, B4,
what, 318?
yes,
Yes.
that's deleted?
Delete points B4 through B11. So we showed what they were and that it's going to be deleted because they're not in sync with the state reg.
What does the state reg say?
You can't view it any different than you would a residential home.
The state reg
the
is
same thing.
Public Act 23-142.
So if you look at where it starts out and then you go to the second page, it's talking about landscaping and kind of mandating.
All these things you can't mandate.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all cut out.
Right.
Yeah, because it's allowed by zoning permit.
Right.
If we were still allowed to do it as
Special permit.
special permit, then we could
Enforce it, right.
Yeah, enforce it, but since it's not, we can't do that, and so out it goes. At least there's probably one last page in our, right?
That would help.
The next one, 5.1E, this was brought up by the ZBA. They had a problem trying to apply a side yard setback, and it's specific to, in the TCD zone, back on Laurel Hill Drive, we have an overlay zone. And that overlay zone was to allow people who had houses there, because there's still a number of houses, to still retain that residential capability, like they could put a single-family home on there. And so, okay, we allowed that, but the problem was that it said, okay, but you have to apply, the TCD land standards. Well, putting a house, is right next to the side yard, because there was no offset, well, that was really meant for everything non-residential, it was meant for commercial. So that's why, and this, by the way, all this, once we figure out some language, we'll send it to the lawyer to get it back.
Right.
To add a footnote, if a single-family residence in the TCD overlay R40 standards prevail, because that's what used to apply, it used to be R40. So that way, if you're gonna do a residential house, well, you do have to put 30 feet back from the sidelines, or is it 30 feet? And then 50 feet back from the back line. So, yeah, if you're gonna do a house, it's just like before.
So one question with this, and it might come back from the lawyer,
Yeah.
is this grandfathered? Or is this the law of the land? And the reason why is, since we're talking about a residential property.
Only in the overlay zone.
Right, in the overlay zone.
Yeah.
If there's a structure there,
Yeah.
and the reason why I'm saying that is, picture like the liquor store. That it was a house, but it's now running as a liquor store.
Right.
If somebody buys that property, flattens it, and wants to put a single-family house there, and it's in that overlay zone, does this apply, or is that new construction?
That would be new construction. Yeah,
Okay.
if they disappear the house, it's a change of use too.
Right, and but that's why I'm saying that. So
Yeah.
my question was, is this a grandfathered provision for existing structure, or, and again, it's.
No, for new single-family residence
Okay.
on the on the property. And so that's a good question to make sure that that's our intention is.
Correct. That's why-
that was my intention.
Right.
Unless the chimney's still standing.
Well, again,
Well,
there's
that would
hooks
be a
to this.
repair.
Correct, and there are hooks to that. That's
Uh-huh.
why I'm asking. I was going with the grandfather, if you leave one piece
Yes,
of the,
uh-huh.
And you
the
have to
property.
you have to look at the use too.
Again,
If they convert, yeah, so
From
those are two.
residential to commercial back to residential.
Yeah,
Correct.
so we'll look at those.
in
those
the
particular-
property next to it, the house that should be flattened, the one that was destroyed in the storm,
Oh, yeah.
that, again, that's still blight and the town is dealing with it. That is technically a one-family home.
That was converted to commercial use, and then, yes, all right, so,
And again, so now, and the reason why I'm asking is, the people that are gonna build there have an option of building a single-family house. They can put an apartment building, they could put a small strip mall there. Again, the use case of it is,
so I'll ask the attorney about change of use and grandfather.
okay,
So that way, because the intention is, if it was commercial, at least my thought was, if it was commercial and you want to go back to a house, and you're gonna knock it down, put a house, then you should abide by the R40
correct,
in the overlay zone.
correct.
That's, just like all the other ones. Now, if the house is already there and it's not conforming, well, it's not conforming, pre-existing, that's okay. If they need to repair it, if they, but some of those, you'd have to go to the ZBA. You can intensify a use, but you can't enlarge a use. So you can't make, further into the setbacks. You probably can't add another floor.
Well, but
that-
that's where I was going with this. But if you grow up, you haven't changed the actual footprint.
Yeah,
You changed the
so-
square footage of the property.
And there's that question, is that intensification or is that enlargement?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so those, we'll
What does
ask that
mean?
too.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So that's what the intention was, because we had that problem that the ZBA had, trying to do that in the overlay zone, which is, now, the property you happen to be talking about, the Pillars property, that's not in the overlay zone.
Right.
Yeah,
Look,
but
I
that
was
would
just
be a
using
good
it as,
example.
yeah, that's why I chose the liquor store. Not that it's applicable, but even the one that we approved, the house that was that was converted to a multi-business,
Yep.
which then turned into a restaurant, which they wanted to convert back to an apartment,
Yes,
residential again.
yeah,
And again, they own the entire building, it's been added on, that kind of goes, that's why I was asking. They're not changing the footprint, they're not even changing square footage,
just the use, yeah.
it's use, but that ties into that whole, again, from residential to commercial, back to residential.
Yeah. All right. Next is table 6.2.
And vice versa,
Oh,
would it have to come back to a,
whenever they do something like that, we'd have to come back to the zoning commission. Yeah.
Right.
permit?
Right. Yeah, I would expect it.
If it's going to be a house, that's just zoning. That's a permit. That's not even a zoning permit. That's an as of right
That's
for
a
a,
zoning permit, so.
for a house. Oh, all right. Well, it never comes to
I
us.
did not know.
But a
We
liquor
don't-
store
we don't-
to a house, back to commercial.
Commercial, you'd have to come in front of us.
Right, but
It's what?
It's not a commission
going
permit.
from commercial
Straight up zoning permit.
to residential,
That's what I figured.
Back to commercial.
from commercial to residential, it goes to zoning. Going back to commercial, it's gotta come back to us, because it's going to commercial again.
Now, technically, the one that was down the street, Federal Road, became mixed use.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and
So it's
again,
still half
that,
commercial.
right, but that, again, that ties into and that's where I was going with this, it ties back to the definition. And since we're trying to clarify,
Yeah.
I'm trying to at least block out as many variables as we can that are straightforward.
And this one, this is just my start, but I think this is a good one for the town attorney to look at and say, well, here's our intention, and, you know, does this work, or can you provide something better to ensure that it works okay? And here was the problem from the ZBA.
Right.
All right, so I'll get clarification on that. Parking space requirements, just this, again, this goes back to the group homes, deleting that institutional use, B is deleted. Permitted signs, this is a housekeeping one. Add to, and this is about a building sign. Now, what was the difference here? Was it this,
There was no maximum.
oh, there was no
Right.
max, so they can make it gigantic.
They were just doing, yep, all they had
Well-
to do is, yeah.
They had 1 square foot per lineal foot.
But some
the-
of these buildings are very large in their footprint and their linear feet, so we were finding signs that were getting, you know,
Huge?
big, yes.
What's the largest one in town that you've seen?
I don't know that off the top of my head. I don't normally approve the same permits, I apologize.
I'm
but
trying to figure out what, I'm trying to
I feel like
envision
we've
what
got
50
one
square
for,
feet.
like,
Is that typical, 50 square feet?
That's the standard for like a max. That's the max that we had for building signs in my previous
Oh,
town. So
yeah.
that's why I used the number
Okay.
50 feet,
50 square feet, so.
50 square feet.
Now you could
Yeah, it's
increase
like
it,
a-
of course, or.
A 7 by 7 or something, you know? So before it was, how long is the building or the frontage, and then you could, you know.
And then
get
it's 1
one
foot
for
per,
one.
right.
So if you have a really long,
So
well, for example.
gymnastics
here's one.
Yeah,
revolutions,
That's
it's
big.
a huge, that's probably a 20 or 30,000 square foot building.
Well, so how long the building is.
Right, but it's,
So like the other one,
Rectangular.
extra space, right? You know,
Extra
storage-
space is another
Extra
one.
space storage, that's a long building.
correct,
So that would be like 100 square feet.
right,
That's a big sign,
right.
yeah. So I could see that, yeah, we should have,
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Las Vegas, we'll be Las Vegas.
yeah. Can't have lights like that. All right, so that, and of course, you know, when we get into the public hearing, these numbers can change.
Mhm.
We can go around town and start measuring signs, and it's like, that's too big, that's not big enough. The next page, page 8, was 6.5B, earthwork and grading. This was where, instead of just excavation, you wanna make excavation slash fill. So
Right.
we're trying to say it's both, taking away and adding. And that will tie into the fees too, so everybody knows it's both.
Right.
And it used to be called earthwork and grading stuff, yeah. So that's just,
And same with the 3, you're just adding the fill, because it
Yeah.
has the excavation.
right.
Yeah.
Yep. The next one, the next page, 9, this came from, this is like 2 before you, Laura. Alice Dew had sent me something for stormwater, deep guidelines, and they had all this information she had written up. You should probably add these things to your She had done the work, not me. And it was everything under C, all these words, all permits must be consistent, yada, yada, yada. These were words that she said, in order to make it consistent with the Connecticut general statutes, you should add all these words. It's a good idea. The other thing I saw that the reference was wrong up on purpose is it should have referenced 6.8, not 6.9. So that was truly a housekeeping.
Okay.
Let's see, stormwater management, just adding for both
Both.
short-term and long-term. Everybody, when they do these commercial projects, they have a stormwater management plan. And so that was just gonna be added to the thing.
For the 7.6B,
Yes,
you modified .3. Oh, you deleted the exception for the SFR to read.
yeah.
Okay. I was looking for the modify. I didn't see it. I went, just
Oh.
agreed.
Let's see, the next page, 11, 8.8, certification of location approval. So this one, instead of coming to us for a location approval, it would be to the ZEO, and I think that's like a state reg thing, right?
That is the state reg thing. It was
Yeah.
included in the Public Act, but yes, they've been pushing for this for a really long time.
Mhm.
Legislator, they finally got through.
Okay, so this is another one, not for public, like the other Public Act, but for a different state reg. So that the ZEO, I don't think we've seen any of these really come in front of us recently, these
You know what,
certificates.
the first one I saw in a very long time, that Fran has seen in a very long time, just came before him the other day.
Oh.
But before that, he said it's been years. You don't get very many of them.
Yeah,
They're normally in existing locations, and they tend to be more transfers than anything else.
yeah, yep. Okay, so the ZEO will do that, which is Fran. And then because of that, the points below it, the wording changed to make it to ZEO instead of the commission, instead of the zoning commission. And then, the next one, modify point B1. Let's see, location approval, oh.
You
same
added
thing.
shall. Yeah, you added
Shall.
shall include.
Must, right?
Yeah, that's a must, legal must. And we used to do the automobile dealers and repairs license, so he's gonna do that now.
Correct.
They used to come in front of us and it was kind of a rubber stamp, but, we would look at it and say, is this gas station or repair place?
Actually, they would come before the zoning board of appeals.
Oh, is that where it was?
Yes.
I know
So
I've seen it
It was you,
before.
but it was not you in this.
This
act.
one-
Oh, yeah. Seen it before. And C, again, the procedures, again, the ZEO. So it's modifying everything below it to replace the zoning commission with the ZEO. And then excavation, next page, 12, 8.13 excavation permit. That was just changing excavation to excavation/fill.
Wait, you have.
No, you didn't.
Did I miss something?
you're
Oh, I'm
forgetting.
sorry.
12 is the
12.
application for zoning regulations.
I'm sorry.
I was like, wait.
I didn't print out your whole thing. So then, thank you, Sean. And then here's, now, see, I would have put this with the other definitions, but okay. We can do that when we finally,
It's not
so
gonna-
this is Laura's suggestion on kitchen, because absent a definition, they can go to a dictionary, Black's Law Dictionary or an Oxford Dictionary, about what a kitchen is. Did you get the latest and greatest?
So I just took this out of a planning terms
Oh, shoot.
definition book
Oh.
and pretty
Sorry.
much copied it over, so any
Yeah.
kind
Wrong
of
one.
changes
Oh, that's okay.
I'm open to.
So your page, I was following
12.
until then.
See, we had just been, do you have my original, or do you have?
Yes.
And I wonder if, so page 12 should be all green letters. You getting there?
That one.
There it is. Before this, we were deciding what a kitchen was, ad hoc in the meetings. And we would say, well, it's got that's something with a stove, an oven, a sink, and a refrigerator. And so we had no definition.
Right.
And someone could argue something different if they wanted to.
Right.
So it's best to have these things defined.
Right, and I agree, but in looking at this, so the reason why I'm asking, although everything that's laid out here, again, the one key piece is the range or the oven. And the reason why is, and I'm gonna use my house as the poster child for this, because I had to fight this with the town.
Yeah,
My house was it was labeled as a duplex, then it was labeled as a single-family home with a in-law occupancy,
yep,
even though it's single-family home. The reason why it was flagged, at one point, there was a cooktop and an oven downstairs. Now, I have a dishwasher downstairs, I have a sink. I now have a freezer, but not a refrigerator. So when they came and looked at the property, they finally said, okay, we agree, this is a kitchen. But the reason why I'm asking is the cooktop and or the oven were the key piece.
yeah.
Not the sink, not the dishwasher, not everything. I mean, you could tell it could be used as a second kitchen, but
Yes.
I also have my washer and dryer and, you know, that was a utility room. So that's the reason why, again, for that, I definitely think the definition for this needs to be clear. And the only reason why is where it's talking about preparation of food, I could prepare food down in that room.
I
don't know if I'd
I
want
think
to,
the other
but-
thing to consider is especially houses on the lake that are on hills, they would have a downstairs that opens up.
Right.
And for convenience sake, they would have a sort of a sub kitchen down there.
That's-
Then it's not an accessory apartment, it's
Correct.
just for convenience.
Correct.
So somehow, I think this kitchen definition's got to recognize that we're not making, apartment down there. Cause sometimes we've had them, well, not sometimes, if we say, that's an apartment, separate resident or separate entrance and stuff, unless you take that stove out, and so you take the stove out, otherwise you can't have it.
Right.
And so we make them do that, or
Right.
Fran does.
Right.
But in the case of just a convenient thing to enjoy your house on the lake, we have to figure out
Right.
how's that language gonna look.
And agreed. And again, we have the basement doors walk out to our basement deck.
Yeah.
But again, it's the convenience.
Yeah.
Do I want to run all the stuff back all the way upstairs to put everything in the dishwasher upstairs, or slam them in the dishwasher right down in there, or wash or do something?
And that might be based, and we have to look to see, are we basing it on what makes an apartment? A
That's
right.
bedroom, a
Right.
living room, a kitchen.
Right.
So if all the pieces that define an apartment aren't there, and this might tie back into what's an accessory apartment, to
Right.
make sure that definition's in sync with this definition.
But-
So we don't penalize people
Right. But
for,
Because you're allowed to have a second kitchen by the regulations.
Right.
It's just when it starts triggering the bedroom, the separate
But-
entrances.
Yeah.
but
that
that's
we're-
for our house.
That's,
That's the problem. It's a 3-bedroom house. There's 2 bedrooms upstairs. There's a bedroom downstairs. Which again,
and it's a separation of those things.
there isn't a separation.
And that's
and there's a
the
full
key
bathroom
difference.
downstairs?
There is a full bathroom downstairs.
That's why.
Right. Like I said, I know
Yeah.
where this came from, but I mean, the
Oh, looks like he's gonna have to.
no, and look, it's fixed.
Keep digging, Tony.
I took care of it. No, but if you looked, first floor, on the field card, the first floor was, that was first,
Yeah.
and then the second one was the second. The problem was, there is a set of stairs that go straight up. There was no wall, there was no door.
Yeah.
It was wide open.
Yes.
So that, again, and that's why the classification, how I resolved it, we removed the cooktop. That went,
Very common,
Right.
probably one of the easiest ways. What I would suggest in addition that is included in this is not just removing the cooktop, but removing the connections.
correct,
Because it's very amazing how stovetops disappear and the
And then
connections
reappear.
stay. And then they
I don't know,
reappear,
I
but
don't
not
know, I
supposed
was
to
gonna say,
be.
I don't know anybody that would do that. No, but you're absolutely right.
You know,
We took all of that out because I didn't want the liability of,
absolutely.
The wires
This is
being-
just
Yeah.
suggested wording, but that
Yes.
if we're gonna do something, I would just like to keep the connections, or at
no,
least the commission
again,
consider.
I absolutely agree. And that's where I was going with this. Where is the defiant? And the reason why is, people can get temp cooktops. You know,
Hot plate.
Yeah.
exactly, like I said, and that's, plug it into an outlet, it's there, and then you take it out and now it's gone.
Yeah.
So, does that kick it off? Or having another fridge, again,
So we'll look at this in conjunction with the accessory apartment to make sure our intention is what we want. People will have, you know, vacation homes or whatever, or homes where they enjoy the lake and have an extra kitchen.
Mhm.
They're not being penalized for,
Yes, I'd like to know that.
yeah. So we have to make sure the language, when we look at this language.
I'm not gonna say as much as you did.
my house is totally fixed now, everything's been removed. So I'm okay with it.
So we'll start with that language, but then as we get into it.
Right, and that's why I said, in looking at what these wordings are, you know, again, the food preparation, dishwashing, not including a bar. Again, you're already starting to gray that area. I've got a sink in the basement. I could do food prep there. I wouldn't, because literally it's next to the washer and dryer and
Yeah.
all of that stuff.
A slop sink?
No, it's an actual real sink.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
I mean, you could start looking, so this is kind of, it was taken from a definitions book. I believe it was actually 3 different definitions that I put all 3 of them in rather than to let the commission. I would also suggest that if anyone wanted to take a look at your local dictionary, Webster's or whatever we referenced in the beginning, that we fell back to, I'm not 100%
Yeah.
sure.
So-
Just to kind of see.
So why don't we have everybody look at that definition and look at the accessory apartment definition to see what changes we need to make.
So looking at your definitions, you only have an apartment definition, which kind of begs the question on whether or not you want to add an accessory apartment definition.
Oh, I thought we
Does that,
had sort of that
would
in
it
the.
require a wall, a total separation?
Yeah, so when you look at accessory apartment, and that's in 316.
What page?
No, he's,
This
pulling-
is-
oh, 316 in your book, but I don't know what page that is.
So let's see. It has to have, where located within or attached to a single-family dwelling, the accessory apartment shall have one means of egress separate from that of the main dwelling, and at least one operable door on a common wall connecting the main dwelling to the apartment. So it's not just open. So those are some, that's part of the sort of definition. But maybe we should add a definition for accessory apartment and just have
Because-
this refer back to this
Mhm.
so that, so have this refer back to that definition, so it's very clear. Someone can just go in the definitions, what's an accessory apartment, and then look, okay, you know, that's
So all
what
you
they're,
need is one door separating.
you need to be able to close it off, to
Correct.
separate one place from the other.
And that's it.
Yes, and so that's the other thing, if we would make them remove the door, take the hinges out.
Well, yes, but,
And then there's inspections, of course,
Right.
if we don't think.
right, no, yeah.
Fran would come in and look again. So that's the main thing.
Or it
That's-
depends on the door.
No. You've gotta,
Well,
I mean, you would
You're
want it
thinking French
lockable.
doors. I know all the little tricks with this one. Yeah, you're thinking French doors, aren't you?
well,
no, but even with,
a one glass door, you know, with mullions. Or do you have, I'm trying to think, and
But there's zoning regulations for apartments, and then there's going to also be different building standards for apartments, and there's also different health standards for apartments. So, trying to keep them all,
In sync with each other.
Right.
with that, that's gonna be impossible, but, you know, as close to as possible would be
Yeah,
beneficial, because building requires different doors. Health counts bedrooms that might be considered living rooms as bedrooms if they're in close proximity to, so there's different definitions. So the health department might have looked at it and been like, that is absolutely an apartment, where
Right.
zoning might have been like, no,
not
that's,
necessarily,
that's a
correct.
special, so there's different distinguishing
Right.
factors.
And the doors make, again, regardless of the space being closed off. If you've got, again, a basement door, or you have 2 doors in your basement, again, from on either side. Those doors trigger you've got separate access. If you've got separate access,
Yeah.
again, I'm going to, from the outside, it's gonna look like it's separate properties.
So you need two means of egress, one being the door to the other
Correct.
unit, and one being out of there.
Out
It's
of-
not actually a door, it's the egress.
Correct,
Yes.
Egress could be a
To
window.
get outside.
correct.
Well,
And so that's the thing, if you're gonna have an apartment, you don't wanna see the other people.
right, and so how that door is locked, how that,
Well, if I was gonna move into accessory apartment, I would say that's gotta be lockable from my side.
Yeah, but,
and
but
and if I were the owner and lived on the other side, I want it locked from my side.
Well, you
correct,
can lock it from both sides.
That's
correct.
true.
Yeah.
You could do deadbolts,
Common.
Yeah.
So that's what I meant by depends on the door.
Right.
Depending on the door.
So, yeah, okay. So if
How
we're gonna
it's
do an
closed.
accessory, if we're gonna do a definition like that, not just an operable door, but an operable door that's lockable from both sides, or some language like that.
Yes, like a hotel room.
Except if you need two means of egress in case of a fire, that can't be one of them, 'cause it
True.
could be locked from the other side.
Although you just said a window.
You need
So-
two,
You
though.
need two.
you need two, you need a door and a window to get out of the property.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so if you're gonna have that door lockable from both sides, it can't be that door.
Right,
Mhm,
so
exactly.
you would
But
need
then you
two.
want privacy.
But that might be your defining statement for the separate apartment, the door.
Yeah, and
Well, I
that would
mean,
make it an accessory
the-
apartment rather than a duplex, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Accessory,
So
right,
you might not
exactly.
wanna add a definition for
Yeah.
accessory apartment. I'm
Maybe
just
we-
letting you know that what we have
Yeah.
currently
Right.
is an a definition for apartments.
Right.
And then you have all of your standards for an accessory apartment.
Yeah, we have to, so maybe the standards could need a little upgrade,
Uh-huh.
so make more specific.
Right.
And maybe two doors, not, two means of, not an egress plus a door, cause climbing
A
through a
window and
window,
a
what
door.
if someone is, handicapped and
And
they can't get out?
out the window.
Yeah.
Again, so two doors versus,
Two doors versus egress,
Egress,
yeah.
right.
So, yeah, that's something that
What if the
can,
two doors are beside one another?
well, it's
Building
gotta
code
go to
will-
the outside.
Building code does touch upon these things too.
Yeah, for
That's
safety.
not necessarily zoning,
right.
Yeah.
you
It's
know,
And,
for-
and,
They're-
and
they're
whether,
they're
and whether it's a
definitely
French
looking at
door
health
or a
and safety.
regular door
Or a
Yeah.
slider?
And I don't know.
or a
what the
slider,
building code
that's
is on
still
all of it.
one door.
Yes.
It's just how wide it could be. So you wouldn't be able to say, well, I've got French doors, that's my two doors.
Or I have two sliders, one beside one another.
Well,
Almost.
so there's our zoning rules, but then there's also building
Right.
departments, so they have to satisfy everybody.
Okay.
Right.
So for them, it's safety and all that,
Mhm.
for us, it's, what's the
Yeah.
What
definition of
compliance?
an apartment?
But what qualifies separate from accessory?
Or main? Do you mean separate from main or accessory from main?
The accessory apartment has got to be the smaller of the two, and it can't be over 800 square feet.
Okay.
Ours is 480 to 800 feet.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why, even though he's building the ADU as a
Yeah.
separate building, it's $795. He's completely under, just barely, but under
Yeah.
the 800 square feet.
Exactly. It's got to be an accessory use.
Correct.
It's small compared to the regular one.
Correct.
All right. So the next page, now is page 13. 8.13, excavation permit, we're just adding fill everywhere.
Yep.
Fill and filling, that's the only change to that. So it's,
Are we changing the title as
Yes,
well?
yes.
Excavation
See how it-
and fill?
see, it says, modify the section by changing the title.
Okay.
Excavation/fill.
Got it.
And then everything below it, wherever there was just excavation, add fill, or filling. And that's the same for all of 8.13. And then Article 9, and we're getting to the end, because 9 is the end. Almost the end, because I have one more thing I want to add. Article 9, administration enforcement, add notice of violations and citations, adding those two. So the fifth bullet point just adds, in addition to letters of warning, requests for corrective action. I guess it was missing, notice of violations and citations. So we want the complete list of things that the CEO is going to send out. Show cause hearings, I don't think that was even a real thing, but we used to have them, but,
So for cease and desist orders, you can have show cause hearings, but here's where it gets a little tricky. Because of any action that is taken by the zoning enforcement officer, that's taken by the zoning enforcement officer gets appealed to the zoning board of appeals. Where any action taken by the zoning commission really should be appealed to the court.
okay.
And that's where the line kind of gets drawn
Yeah.
normally, so.
So we shouldn't even have anything like that, you know, why is it coming in front of us,
Right.
appeal to a higher authority?
So, and then the other change was, I just took out that instead of the CEO having to come before the commission to issue a citation, he may issue one before going to the commission.
Yeah, so that's where we wanted him to, you know,
Mhm.
be able to go all the way.
Right.
Instead of, you know, us having to be involved. And so that's all of them, except the last one I suggest is to eliminate Appendix 3 fee
Oh,
schedule.
that's correct, sorry.
And so,
Is that my copy that you have there still?
yeah,
Kurt's good at clipping
Wanna
your
make
stuff,
sure that-
Sean.
this was a better copy, I only took a couple, anyway. So, you know, we talked about, oh, do we have to do a zoning change, a reg change every time we change the fee schedule? And I put it out there to Tom Beecher, the town attorney, and he suggested just eliminate it. And so that way we decouple the fee schedule from our zoning regs. So the fee schedule could change as conditions warrant for, you know, pricing and stuff like that. And we would just talk about, yeah, you have to put the fee in, whatever the current fee thing is. And so we would remove Appendix 3 and 4 would become 3, which is just a revision history. And the other thing I wanted was to add, I wanted to collect together both our commission and ZBA, because they only have one thing, you know, in the same fee schedule called the land use, you know, zoning and ZBA commission land use. Only because, here's my reasoning, we're using the same regs. So since we're using the same regs, I thought, why not have them all there so everybody can see, oh, a special hearing or a public hearing for ZBA is this price. Why is it different from the same sort of public hearing on the zoning commission? I forget what the price even is. I looked it up, I meant to look it up again. But I thought it would be nice to have it all in one place. Because I was looking down our current fee schedule, and this is a nice segue into the fee schedule.
The only question, and look, I'm all for it. The only question I have about, and I agree that this should be decoupled,
Yeah.
is there any changes or how are the price changes dealt with? And is there any sort of an announcement or do we have any sort of indemnification that, you know, these are the fee structures, the town can change them whenever they want, or do they have to give 30-day notice, or
If you
posted?
decouple them from the regulations, no. You would have to vote on them as a commission based off of the ordinance, because the fee schedule is set by the individual land use commission. So inland wetlands sets their own fee schedule, ZBA sets their own fee
Okay.
schedule, just based off, that's how I read the wording of the ordinance. I don't know if you've looked at it,
No.
Mr. Chair. That each of them, since they call out, set their own, but there's nothing that says procedural wise. It's very but I haven't come across it where it's been looped into the regulations before.
Right.
I've always had it a vote, so it would be on your agenda.
Right.
Um,
But that would, the agenda item would be our fees
yeah,
if we choose to change that.
so I wouldn't keep them on everyone. I would just honestly, once these are done, if you ever wanted to bring it back up, new business, discussion on current fee schedule and possible revisions. You
Right.
know, and then go forward with it and then vote on it as an action item. But I wouldn't, it wouldn't merit a public hearing.
Okay, no, I wasn't, again, I was looking more for the structure of what would cause that to change. You know, if, making it up, if a land use permit is $100 and we had to hire 2 new people in town, and it's money on the town to hire people because somebody decided there's 100 acres of unused land that somebody bought and wants to redevelop and do something with it.
Get a consultant.
But my point to that, and agreed, but my point is that they could turn around and go, okay, well, it was $100, now we want it to be $125 to cover the operational costs of the additional staff and/or people that would be now part of that group as it's gotten bigger.
But you would be they, so
Okay.
in this case, it's the only people who can change the fee schedule for this commission is
Would be this commission. Okay,
So the Board of Selectmen can, they might turn around and see something and say, hi, we were looking at your fees and they appear rather low or not updated. We suggest you look at it.
Right.
But the way the ordinance is written, and we can always check with Attorney Beecher, it seems like each commission is responsible for their own fee schedule, which is the only reason why I'm
You
not
wanted to
quite
keep it
sure
separate?
Right.
about combining ZBA. I get it, I totally understand, I would love it on one, they both use the same zoning commission, there is no ZBA book, it's all based off of the zoning regulations.
Right.
I would like to run that by Tom, though,
Okay.
as far as, can we include it, did we have to get just them to say, we're good with the fees, we can put this on one piece of paper, maybe I'm making this a bigger deal than it needs to be.
And, well, that goes back to documentation control. This one, we haven't changed since 2012. I was looking at the ZBA
They're
fees,
old.
and those are even older, 2004 or something.
Yes, actually, once I was done with the
Jeez.
fee schedule, I was going to start suggesting that maybe they wanted to update theirs and then move on to wetlands.
Yeah.
I know, I'm not like the rest of them.
Well, maybe before, maybe we shouldn't combine them yet and just get the structure right, and then we can go back and look at the actual numbers.
And the other thing that I was also thinking is, in about a year from now, you're going to have to be looking at your fee schedule again. If you're going to have all of the planning fees and you as the combined commission of the planning and zoning. So what's now on here is going to change, cause you're gonna have to start including things like the subdivision and the re-subdivision fees. And that's a whole nother big conversation about how the conversion's gonna happen.
So do you have plans to look at the planning commission's fees, or do you wanna just hold off and, subsume them in?
I wanna get these done and I wanna hold off on any of the planning and then, if, it would be nice to have all of land use on one fee
Yeah.
schedule, but with the whole ZBA difference, I just want a little
Yeah.
bit of a
Okay.
Tom weigh in on
Yeah.
that.
But you'll hold off on doing planning because it's gonna change in 2 years anyway.
It's gonna change and I want the commissioners who are sitting on the combined board to weigh in on it.
Yeah.
We really don't get all that many planning applications.
And this could be a template for expanding it for planning and zoning.
Right.
All right.
And maybe ZBA?
Yeah. All right. Let's see, in regards, do we wanna transition to fee schedule since,
we could.
I think we got the clean copy. And,
And we've also got the markup copy.
oh yeah, so this is a clean copy of the markup copy, but I think, we were discussing things to strike and not strike from last time. For example, on the clean copy, looking at that, the commission pre-application review, oh, you just said no charge.
Yes.
Oh, all right, okay, you did change it, all right. Takes no permits, the only certificate of zoning compliance and zoning permit, I was just going to, I would add, slash, you have 8.3, section 8.3, say slash 8.2, because zoning permits section 8.2. I would just add that in there.
Oh, in the top?
Yeah, where you
Okay,
have,
yep.
just slash 8.2, yeah. And then, I said expand to include, for temp events, oh, that's a different section anyway.
I think
But
I put
since
them
those
down
are-
at the bottom.
Are those just like, hanger-oners, or they don't really fall under,
So I believe they don't,
so an event permit is given out by the ZEL, and is that like a zoning permit?
yes.
So could we put them up like underneath the certificate of zoning compliance, like move that section between site application and that, since it is kind of like a zoning permit?
We could, but it's under miscellaneous provisions in your,
Oh,
zoning regulations, so I
Which-
wasn't sure.
but it
if
is
you
a
wanted-
zoning permit.
It's actually called a temporary event permit.
Oh, okay.
Which is, I know, it would have been easier if it was a zoning permit.
Site plan application, that's a zoning permit too, isn't it?
A site plan application is a zoning commission application, so it wouldn't be a zoning permit.
It wouldn't be a ZEO zoning
No, it
permit.
would be a U zoning.
So there's a slight
There's a
difference.
differential on that one.
And a ZZCP, all right. What did I write there? I can't even see what I wrote. And so this is a cleanup with all your, the things we talked about.
It was my attempt to clean up with
Okay.
all the things we talked about. I might.
Oh, and special permit under residential, I wanted to add /3.16 too,
3.16.
yeah. Cause that's the park, or is that multifamily?
That is the accessory apartments.
Oh, accessory apartment. All right. Design review, did we want to reference 611C3 that for, what section that is?
We certainly can. 611.
.C.3. I have 5-1-H.2, but I'm not sure if that also references it. But I think it was 611C3 I wanted to reference there. Let's see. Quickly look at that. C3, yeah, that, design review team, design review, yeah. I guess that was pretty much it. Everything else, structure-wise, looks all right.
Yeah, one of the things that was struck from the design review was major shopping center.
Yes.
Yeah, 'cause that doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
Yep. The gas station stuff, gas station, service station, is that a $360?
Yes, so that was taken straight from the zoning board of appeals application number, and that's how I threw that in there, cause it's the certification of location. If you want to change that, you most certainly can, but I figured I'd give it the same fee going through, but now you.
Oh, there it is down
It's
there.
all the
Oh,
way
it's
down.
Oh,
very
all right,
bottom,
yeah,
yes.
I saw where I wrote.
Oh, sorry,
it.
yeah, no.
You added it at the bottom.
Yep.
Does that have a section number 2?
So we could put it under. Is that under? It's under.
But since that's, well, that's ZEO now.
Right, I was gonna say it's
That's-
8.8 ties
that-
to the ZEO for,
So that's taken away from the ZBA, they're not gonna do it anymore.
Correct.
And that's not applicable until we change regs to make it applicable.
I would argue that you should.
Or you have it and you don't know
The
yet.
state statute, you pretty much have it and you don't know it yet. The state statutes trump the zoning commission.
Yeah.
So we can't, if you have conflicting zoning regulations, I would always suggest that the
go to the state.
zoning,
Yeah,
you rely upon the state and not based off of what was written.
and that doesn't say who's doing it anyway. It doesn't say.
The
if
fee
it's-
schedule does not.
No, so we
No,
don't
it
really
just says the
care about
certificate of, it's just removed from the ZBA fee schedule. Well, actually, it's not even removed, it's still on there at the moment because
until they,
Right.
until they remove it,
yeah,
even though they don't actually ever see them anymore because it has to go
yep,
to the ZEO per state statute.
yeah, and if this is a duplicate for now, doesn't matter. Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
We cross that bridge when we get to ZBA update.
If the fees are the same, then it really is.
yeah, it's
Irrelevant.
just moving it over to
Right.
our list.
We really do not get very many of them,
No.
so.
Did the Gulf Station go in front of them recently?
No, there was a transfer. It did not go.
Oh,
for them
all right,
Because it was a
it wasn't new.
based off of state statutes. It
Oh.
can't.
Yep, okay. All right, so could you update that again and then, we'll look over the final language of it. And then we can just, approve the new structure and then look at the, fees at a separate time. And so anybody else have any questions on the, fee schedule? Other than the, slight mods we made to the clean copy? It's coming along. Matt would be happy. Getting there.
I've been working, you've been working on this.
So the new item, 8A, this is the letter from
POCD?
from
Courtney,
Planning Commission, from Courtney Knapp. And she went through and she looked at, let's see, 5 different areas, and I'll just mention community character, natural resources, four corners, economic development, housing, and transportation. And she was gonna ask us specific questions about those. And I think we can go part of them, like I wrote down some thoughts on like the first 4, because it's a lot of stuff. She digs way into design guidelines for the TCD, which is one of our sub-documents that reference back to our own document. She also references the, what was it called? It was called, let's see, I was writing some. Oh, there was something called an implementation program / community forum initiative. It was part of the Four Corners Brookfield Town Center District Revitalization Plan. That was way back in 2012 or something like that. So it was the whole plan to revitalize the downtown. And that was all rolled into the current POCD. So when she looks at the POCD and she mentions a few things, I had to go, she mentioned something about community forum initiative. I'm like, what's that? So I looked, I searched our own website, Brookfield website that is, and found that,
Brookfield, Connecticut website.
yeah, Brookfield, Connecticut. And I found that, that's part of this revitalization plan. And in there, they define what that is. And a few things I noted about it, because I'll talk about, she talks about community character. And one of the questions was evaluate the use of form-based code for new commercial construction. They're talking about when you do zoning to look at the massing of buildings and how it relates to the street and things like that, not just setbacks and everything, but architectural parts of it. And site plan modifications involving facades to achieve the goal. So that's one part. She asked about evaluate the revision of existing zoning regs for these architectural standards, and then evaluate the applicability of the design guidelines for the TCD. And she talked about the incentive housing zone, which has been sunsetted. That was for getting some credits for affordable housing, so that doesn't exist anymore. Reaching a consensus for the role of architectural considerations on the approval. So what she wants us to do is look at the POCD, look at what's happened in the last 9 years, and how the regs have changed, and say, did we achieve these sort of things? And do we modify the zoning regs to define the architectural elements? Do we encourage consolidated development with shared access and all these things? And I'll give you an example for that first one. community character. The TCD zoning regs, they were last revised in 2014, June 1st, in response to this revitalization plan and the POC, ahead of the POCD, because that was 2015. It used to be called the Village Business District.
Right.
So it was modified to use a form-based approach. And just to note, the zoning regulation rewrite in 2018 left all that TCD alone because we felt that it had recently been done and there was not enough time nor development that had occurred to warrant any revisions. You know, we don't know enough about how they're gonna turn out.
Right.
I think we know a bit more now, you know, in the ensuing 6 years. So that's what we thought about, that's what I thought about, evaluating the use of form-based code. The second one, the revision of the existing zoning regs, we did these TCD zoning reg execution. I said certainly needs tweaking as the actual size of the build out seems too large for the area. And in addition, that I feel that maximum setback where you can't get any further than 25 feet might be good for the very downtown, but as you start moving away, maybe it should, you know,
should be
move further back.
Potentially,
It
correct.
seems
Right.
too in your face when you're, you know,
Yes.
away from that.
Right.
Yes,
That said, because part of this was streetscape, I think the streetscape and mixed use on Federal Road has gone as planned. I mean, that part, we wanted mixed use.
Right.
We wanted streetscape, and those things have happened. Did they happen exactly the way we want? As I mentioned, maybe the buildings are too tall. And that was interesting because there was another section on Four Corners which a lot of the community character dealt with Four Corners anyway. But the implementation program, Community Forum Initiative, all that had actually called for a maximum of 2-story buildings, not 3-story.
Correct.
So somewhere, that thing, all that work they did, when they actually made the TCD regs, it went up to 3 stories. So that's something to look at again. You know, I think people, I've heard from people, you know, that's just 3 stories is kind of tall for this area. And maybe we have to find out why did we move away from 2? And this is the feedback they're looking for.
but it's already done.
Well, there's a lot of redevelopment that could happen in Four Corners.
Right.
That's just one piece. There's all those 1-story buildings that could be redeveloped.
And flattened and rebuilt.
Yes.
So
Move it into
that's
single-family home.
Yes,
maybe 2 stories.
or 2 stories, or they could become
So-
apartments and condos and
Yeah.
row houses.
Yeah, something.
Yes.
But now's the time to say, all right, there's some development that's happened, that was redevelopment, you know, where Rickles used to be and stuff.
Mhm.
But there's a lot that could be redeveloped, all on both sides, going out from Four Corners, north and south.
Correct.
And so that's what we have to look at. And that's what the planning commission's gotta look at, and we have to feed back.
Right.
That's what they're looking for.
And that also ties back to, again, looking at the setbacks. So, because of the work that they did on the lower part of Federal Road,
Yeah.
there's sidewalks all the way up to, the pizza guy, or the Linden.
Agora.
No.
Oh.
There's a break. They've got sidewalks from Agora all the way down
Yes.
to the walking trail
Yep.
and the urgent care.
Yeah.
But
On the other side.
on the other side of Super 7, all the way down to
The new development.
the new develop, no, even past the new development, there's not sidewalks, they're still building it. And
Oh,
again,
going north, you mean? Yeah, that's phase 6,
again, but,
and that's in the works.
right, but playing with the setbacks, that's actually important, because if that setback isn't defined, if they come in to, and again, I'll use examples of what they did when they expanded Federal Road Marketplace. They had all that parking
Oh,
in the
yeah.
front.
Yeah.
All that disappeared. Now, it's nice, it's got a sidewalk, it's got grass,
Yeah.
it looks good, but
Yeah.
they lost all of that parking,
Yeah.
and that cut, and the reason why is, that's 4 lanes up until it feeds up to the old New Milford Road, then
Yeah.
it goes back to 2.
Yeah.
If that expands if they choose to expand it.
If the state does.
Right, well, that's what I'm
Well,
saying.
see, the state won't, because that Streetscape 6 is with the state. The state's gotta approve that,
Okay.
and we're getting money for that. The only thing that was holding them up was where are the curb cuts for the west side of the road.
Right.
Once they get that, then there are already plans, keep it at 2 lanes and go up. But, if say the liquor store guy wants to redevelop,
Mhm.
do we want him 25 feet? That liquor store and the pillars,
Right.
he bought that.
Again, those,
Do we want them within 25 feet of road? Or would we prefer them to go to ZBA and get it further back?
Correct.
Because that's signed kinda close. Right now, there are no regs, no reg changes, and he's got to be within 25 feet.
Right.
I don't know if we want that.
right, and that's
I
my
don't think-
point.
Yeah, so, some of this is tough to do, because it can't be fast enough for someone who wants to start building.
Right.
But we can certainly feed this back and say, yeah, we're not in favor of some of these things, like 3
Three
stories,
stories,
Right.
25 feet.
25 feet, and any of these other things, but some of the things were almost it's hard to achieve them. They wanted to redevelop the gas stations, and I understand that, when it turns over, well, there's only 3 now, but the 4th one is still a service station, so it looks
Right.
exactly the same.
Right,
And that's tough, that's private development. The town might be trying to get in there, hey, we're willing to buy it,
Mhm.
to keep it from being a gas station.
well, like I said, when the golf closed, I was expecting someone to possibly swoop in and buy it up, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, it's like, it was opened again, I was like,
Yeah.
Well, that was
yeah,
fast.
Exactly, someone did swoop in.
right,
The other thing was, they had something about cultural/civic enhancement initiative. That's like putting town things down in the 4 corners, library or community center. And, that's tough too, because one, finding the property, it's all private property down there,
It's not.
so there's costs involved.
town owns part of it.
Well, not all, yeah, so
And-
for
and-
example.
At Four Corners, yes, but if you go towards where the bike path is, that section of land off of Super 7
Yeah,
to the red building, the town owns part of that, because that goes back to 2004, when I was on rec.
yeah.
We were trying to put a rec community center.
Yeah, and
For
see
that.
how hard that is. So that was one of the things,
Right.
did that happen? And, we were looking at the library, the school, police station. Well, the school happened first.
Right.
Is the library gonna happen,
Mm-hmm.
so some of the things they wanna do, and I understand why, down the 4 corners, you want community stuff like
Yes.
that.
Absolutely.
What they did get, they got a pocket park. That's one.
Right, right.
That's a start. They got the Still River Greenway.
Right.
So some things are tough to do. So that's the sort of feedback. And what I can do, I wrote some of these things. I will email. And since I found out more of these other documents involved, I'll email those too. The 4 Corners Brookfield Town Center District Revitalization Plan. And what I want to get from there is build up a document that we will send back to Planning Commission. And it's not gonna happen in 1-2 meetings, because there's a lot of stuff in here. I mean, I only got through 4 of the 6 things, and that's just my opinion.
Right.
So,
His,
bandied
But
it about.
what about community input?
They're doing the first part, it's like, what do the commissions think happened? They separately are gonna go out and do all sorts of public input, public hearings, and they're getting money for all that. And they're also doing, hiring consultants to get that public input, whether it's surveys and slideshows, or whatever they do. I've seen it happen on the last one. It even happened during our rewrite. We had a lot of public input and had meetings, I guess it was in this room, where people could come in and comment on what was happening with the whole rewrite. And the same thing happened when they did the POCD and this revitalization plan. All that, the Halliday report and stuff, that was all done from consultants going out there and getting people involved
Right.
in what they wanted to see, and putting things out and saying, okay, what do you like? Do you like this look, that look, that look? And they go through a survey, and gather all the information. So that's their charge, is to go and get all that public input. And part of their charge also is like, what do we think, what the planning commission, what do they think, what do we think, what the I don't know if they went to the ZBA, Economic Development Council, all the different sort of people, stakeholders who have an interest in the town. And get that feedback to help guide them, you know. They might not know some of these things, because they're only in a commission of 7 people, we're a commission, or 5 people, so are we. But we might know things that they don't, because people come in front of us, and the public hearings, they come in front of us and say what they don't like and what they do like.
And people talk to us on the side.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
What's going on? Why are we doing this? Why
Yeah.
are we doing that?
Out of curiosity, has much changed, and I doubt you know this, you might. The revitalization plan, because I think I still have a copy of that from my old rec days. 'Cause we were meeting with them, because that was tying into when we were trying to get the Greenway done.
Yeah.
Again, I was one of the guys that we were spearheading to get that done in the early 2000s. Putting that aside, what I'm trying to figure out is if that hasn't changed much with the POCD, or if it did change, because that would be interesting too.
That happened first, I think, and the POCD grew out of that, and the regs grew out of that revitalization.
right.
So I think the revitalization plan, the TTC regs and the POCD all happened very, very much around each other.
Okay.
And because the POCD references the design guidelines of the TCD regs.
Because again, they actually had the model at Town Hall for the longest time, where, again, calling out the gas stations weren't there in that revitalization. Now,
Yeah.
whether they could actually force it or not, different issue, but
Yeah.
again, we're talking early 2000s, we're talking,
Yeah,
a ridiculous amount of time
oh yeah, exactly.
ago.
And there, some of these things, and it happens all the time, is, there was some sort of committee, community facilities committee, because there was a question about that in her thing, about the Four Corners Civic Spaces Plan as formed by the Community Facilities Committee. Well, the last time they met was 2017, and they were probably disbanded. So things lose their impetus after a while.
Correct.
And so some of these things don't happen because maybe commissions change, or, people
Lose
resign from
interest.
commission.
Well,
Yeah.
it doesn't, it either stops or it becomes harder.
Yeah.
The Recreation Enhancement Council
Yep.
was, again, grassroots, spun up to do the bike path. And that started from 1999, early 2000 to whenever they built it. And we stopped. I mean, the town still has a rec commission,
Yeah.
which we were working with, but the Greenway happened years after it, even though we fundraised and tried to do a lot of things to actually get it off the ground.
Yep.
So that's the reason why, what I was, again, especially with some of these volunteer community groups, again, if they
So-
don't have the input,
Yeah.
it just dies.
And that is interesting, as she goes, as Courtney Knapp asks about some of these things, when I look them up, it's like, oh, they're defunct, so, no, that wasn't
Right.
implemented. And that's good to know too, what things died on the vine. And so that's what they wanna find out. What things are politically possible, economically possible, or, also died on the vine.
If
Alright.
it takes too long,
Yeah, yes, it takes too long, so.
takes too long.
Always gonna take too long.
Well, when you're in business, it can't.
Look, I agree. Again,
And you get very
agreed.
frustrated when
Yes,
when that,
yes.
So I'll send these documents out, plus some of my thoughts on at least the first 4 sections of that. Her question she had community character, national resources, Four Corners, I only did 3. Yeah, only 3 sections out of her 6. So that's a start. And we'll work on those and then go from there. And we'll
Great.
build our document up.
great.
Cool.
So you'll send that to us.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, any other commissioner informal discussions or comments?
I don't think so.
Anybody want?
Move to adjourn?
Yes?
I second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.